has certainly had a history of attracting
Breaking news,
Islamist
folks.
militants in the past. And while we don't know
Another
the
attack.
motivation, if you were somebody planning to make a statement,
Man hits London pedestrians, several casualties. Another attack, folks, in London. Wow, this is amazing.
People who are now in the United States prisons on life sentences. And when I say all this, I'm referring to the history of the mosque. I'm not talking about what the mosque is today,
At a mosque
but
too.
I'm trying to put myself in the mind of the perpetrator and thinking about motive. If you wanted to make a statement, this is a mosque where Islamist militants have gathered in the past, and this might
be a white
part of the
terrorist,
calculation
or
of the perpetrator.
well, this is against Muslims, apparently.
London, this part of London is, I would say, sort of
breaking news.
Kind of a mix of working middle class. A lot of Muslims live in North London. It's one of the largest Muslim cities in the world outside the Middle East or South Asia. Perhaps 1 million Muslims live in London. The mayor of London, of course, is a Muslim. And I think this will contribute, unfortunately, to a feeling in London of uncertainty when you've had terrorist attacks in March.
Several casualties, oh my God.
Bridge, then more recently at the London Bridge, and a number of terrorist plots that have been averted.
Seems like this is a retaliation, folks, for the other attack a couple of weeks ago.
Was saying earlier, I think, terrorism, of course, what is the definition of terrorism? It's violence directed at civilians by entities of a state.
Wow.
And this attack
One person has been arrested, London Metropolitan Police say.
Similar to the attack on the congressional Republicans playing baseball practice, where somebody with motivations of sort of anti-Trumpism tried to kill members of the congressional Republican delegation. So, I think this attack, if indeed it is terrorism, and there's really, I think, very little doubt left in my mind that this is terrorism. Terrorism can come from any number of political ideologies, from the left, from the right, from jihadists, from neo-Nazis, from anti-immigration activists.
That's right.
I think that's where we are tonight, Anna.
I want to bring back Arsalan Iftikhar, who's joining us again via Skype. He's the senior editor at the Islamic Monthly. And Arsalan, as we're continuing to learn that it appears that there were a lot of Muslim people in this area, and that may have been the target of this van that ran into pedestrians that police are now investigating. Do you feel that Muslims were under attack here?
The Muslim Council of Britain, has already come out with a public statement, as you mentioned, Anna, saying that, some of their worshippers were targeted in this attack. And again, as Peter was earlier mentioning, the term terrorism is something that should become to apply to any act of mass murder that is meant to send terror across the civilian population.
Let's see if Mr. Trump speaks out
it's
about
really
this.
important to keep in mind that had the driver of this van been a Muslim, they would have called this an act of terrorism immediately without even hesitating for a moment.
Exactly.
Now, when the victims happen to be Muslim, we see a lot more trepidation in using that term. And so, again, I think we have to have get away from the double standards of our societies and call an act of terrorism a terrorism, regardless of who the victims are and who the perpetrators are.
I think we're very careful to go there until we hear a word from the authorities on the scene, because we don't have all the information at this time. But I think you bring up a good point. Let me bring back
Most likely it's terrorism, folks.
Us, via Skype as well, who's been with us the last couple of hours.
Is this a false flag, though?
This incident has been unfolding.
Or is this
Julia,
really?
We still have not heard
Seems like
any
this thing is
more
for real.
information from the law
No false flag.
there.
That's exactly right. So what that says is that there is no benign explanation for this tragedy. In other words, it's not drugs, it's not drunk driving.
Yep.
This is something that the police are both investigating because they want to make sure that other mosques that might be vulnerable are protected at this stage. Remember, it's Ramadan. This is not just a sacred time for the Muslim community, it's also a family time. So you have multiple generations visiting mosques at the very time that this happened. And so I would anticipate, as I've been saying, that the absence of anything being said by the Metropolitan Police since those tweets almost over an hour ago now, means that they are trying to figure out what the story is and
Okay,
what
folks.
they should be saying to the public.
Yeah.
If this is, as we now, as Peter and I have been saying, it certainly looks like it based on our expertise, this is a targeted terrorist attack against the Muslim community. If that is where the evidence is going,
Most likely yes, folks.
is to harden to the extent she can mosques throughout London because of ongoing Ramadan festivities. And you know, just to remind your viewers, for Christians in this country, the attack in South Carolina on churchgoers in the church had particular significance. There's places of worship seem in this day and age of horribleness seem still to be places where faith and kindness can thrive, and so the particular horror of targeting a mosque, as the eyewitnesses and the reporting show, cannot be underestimated for a community that is, as I said, a huge population within London, certainly, and makes up for its diversity and vibrancy in a city that is really a sort of center for the kind of diversity that many nations wish that they could have. So that's where this is. Have no doubts anymore that we will hear from the Metropolitan Police to tell us news regarding the purposefulness of this attack, and they are just probably trying to figure out who the perpetrator is and making sure there's no one else. Primary goal now is to protect others in the Muslim community, protect those mosques. People will be waking up in 2 or 3 hours, going to the mosque in the morning for morning prayers. They have to make sure that people are protected. That's the number one priority now.
Again, what we do know from police right now is that a vehicle collided with pedestrians. The Muslim Council of Britain put out a statement saying they were told by law enforcement that it was a van that hit worshippers who were leaving the mosque in this area, the Finsbury Mosque, and this is near Finsbury Park in the northern part of London, north of the central part of that city on Seven Sisters Road, and that there were a number of casualties on the scene. We've heard now from eyewitnesses who said that they saw a number of people on the ground, anywhere from 2 or 3 people who appeared to have some serious injuries, that is, and one person who at least appeared to have a serious enough injury where they were doing kind of cardiac treatment for that person. Cardiac massage is how that was described. Juliet, it's been almost 3 hours.
Okay, folks. There it is, terrorist attack. Another one in London. Well, I guess so-called terrorists. Well, most likely, but this time it's against Muslims. Seems like it. Well, we're gonna hear more later on, I guess. I might have more information later, folks. But that's the basis of it now. You know what I mean?